You're listening to Everyday Ham, casual conversations for the everyday amateur radio enthusiast.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Everyday Ham. We've made it to one more year, so we're kicking it off. I am James, K8JKU, joined here by the co-hosts, as always, Jim, N8JRD, the voice of South Lion, and Rory, W8KNX. We also have a special guest, Terry, W8TMB, with us as well today. Quick reminder, if you're new here or a fan of the show, don't forget to check out everydayham.com. You'll find all our important links out there to our audio podcast, the YouTube channel where we post regularly, as well as just general what's going on. We also have a young but thriving Discord channel, so please don't forget to subscribe there as well. Today, we're going to dive into the world of CW, so Morse code. Terry's got a little bit of insight on how he learned some of the best practices that worked for him, and that's going to be a topic for us that we want to pursue in 2026 for all three of us here. So Terry's going to Sherpa us into the world of CW. But first, Terry, why don't we let you introduce yourself and kind of talk about what's going on in your shack today?
Sure. So my name's Terry Bone. My call sign is W8TMB. I'm a COVID amateur radio operator, so I was licensed. I needed something to do up north in Michigan. And so I got my tech license in 2021, my general in 23, and my extra in 24. And I was looking for something to do in 25, and that I kind of started CW end of 24-ish and into 25. I'm a retired Ford IT manager, and I've been heavily involved in POTA for probably the last couple of years. What's going on in the shack? The shack has moved down to Florida. So my parents live in Florida, and I'm visiting them. I got here yesterday, and I brought a little CW field radio and the tiniest antenna, and made some contacts today. I think I made 7 contacts, mostly around the states around Florida, but I did get out to, I think the furthest was Maryland. And that's what I've been doing.
Nice. And maybe one important note, we actually met Terry through the Michigan POTA meetup, and Terry's been so kind to help volunteer his time there as well. And then he happened to move from northern Michigan down to the South Lion area. So now Terry's also part of the South Lion Area Amateur Radio Club. So we're very pleased to get to know Terry more and more as this couple years here progress. But Terry, also, can you talk a little bit about the antenna? You were showing us earlier, and I know we're on camera, so we'll describe it, but it's a pretty neat little...
I'll pull it up here. So there's a couple that do CW. They have got a YouTube channel. I can't remember their channel right off the top of my head, but they decided to build 3D print a little coil that could sit on a tripod, small tripod that they recommend off Amazon, and a collapsible whip. All you need is one radio. They give you the wire with a banana plug, and it's a BNC connection. Fully extended, it sits up about 6 feet tall, and that's what I was using today. And my radio's a 5-watt radio. It's Jim. You had the name right. Just Okay. They call it the Just Okay.
Just Okay Mini. Yep, the Just Okay Mini. And it's the Ham Radio Duo, I believe. The YouTube channel.
There you go. Yep,
is
Thanks, Jim.
The folks. Yep.
That's a nice looking antenna, though. Especially, it looks very portable and lightweight. Perfect for portable operations.
I think that our good buddy there, K8MRD, did a video on that antenna as well. So if you want a more deep dive, we'll send you over to the K8MRD channel, which I'm sure you already have bookmarked if you know who we are.
Yes.
Well, very cool, Terry. And it's always awesome to hear just how far CW can go on just 5 watts. And I think we're going to dig more into, of course, some of the advantages of maybe taking some time to learn CW this afternoon on the episode. But a really neat setup there, and awesome to hear you out operating even down in Florida with a limited kit, right? Terry has a full shack at home in Canton, and he doesn't have that all with him right now. So he's making the best of it while he's on vacation down there in the warmer climate of Florida.
Nice.
Yeah,
so Jim,
my entire shack for Florida, it fits in this bag. And
nice.
We weren't going to check anything, no check-in baggage. So we just did carry on, and the antenna and the kit came with me.
Very cool. Yeah, the bag that Terry just showed us, if you're listening to us on the podcast, is about the size of a standard camera bag. I don't know if anybody has a camera anymore, but you kind of get the idea, It's a fairly compact rig. All right, what's going on in the NHJRD shack? Well, it's always interesting to see how things are going over here. Buying, selling gear, my favorite pastime as far as that goes. But did spend more of December operating than buying, which is pretty impressive for me. And so I spent most of my December. I was off for 3 weeks, which is unbelievable to say out loud. But it was really nice to have that time off to focus on just getting a little bit more healthy and also having some time to focus on radio. And I did both of those things. And so I spent a lot of time on digital FT8 and learned a little bit more about that. I will give some shout outs to our club members, W8JLN Joe and Ed, W8EDE, both big digital operators. And I know we have other ops in the club, so if I didn't call your name, it's okay. These two guys really, really kind of jiving off one another, learning FT8, and they really helped me be more effective running digital in December. I got Grid Tracker installed. James helped me sync up so that I'm sending it directly to QRZ and my logbook. And all that to be said, 10 meter was on fire all through December. And so I just worked the hell out of my DXCC. And that is really what I focused on, was grabbing as much DX as I could. Well, 10 meter was just working like a champion. I went from 71 or 72 DXCC entities up to 99 by the new year 2026. So I'm one away from the Century Club, but that's okay. I really did set the goal to try to have it done by 2026, because it's nice to set a goal like that. But I had pretty limited expectations that it was really possible, especially with 28 or 30 to go. I think it's challenging. DXCC is a challenging thing. It's not as hard with digital, and I understand if you're out there shouting at your screen, phone's harder or CW is hard. Sure it is, and it is, and absolutely yeah. I understand that. That's why there's endorsements for these things, so that those folks that are doing it on phone get recognized for that. But I had a lot of fun, and so made a bunch of headway on my DXCC. That was a big achievement for me. And then also QRZ announced their USA 250 award, and I got stoked about that immediately. It's only every once in a while that QRZ launches a new award aside from their Christmas award. Of course, each year they do the 12 days of QRZ and then give you 90 days to make it work, which, by the way, I think is hilarious. But I did chase the USA 250 and got that done in just under, I would say, well, a little over 72 hours, which I was pretty stoked about. So number 6 out of all of the awards, which was really cool too. It just takes 250 confirmed contacts. So you got all year to do it. And I think it's just a neat award. It's cool to see QRZ, again, becoming more of a digital logging platform. I think they've really fleshed that out. And I'm seeing more and more of my contacts coming through QRZ. So it was a big contesty kind of awardsy operating experience for me over December. I spent tons of time on the radio and I had a blast doing it. I got lots of phone contacts. I got lots of digital contacts and I've enjoyed the hell out of that. So that's what I was up to.
My ham alert was blowing up. And I was very also proud of you for getting number 6, because I know that was something you got in your mind that you wanted to get.
He wasn't stopping that night either. It was it was Thursday night, because Jim had to go back to work Friday for some unknown reason, and it was Thursday night, and I was about to pull the plug, and I'm sitting here seeing, because Jim could shout across town and I could hear him, so I'm sitting seeing his call sign pop up on my FT8, and I said, "Well, are you going to make it?" And getting closer in the countdown, so I sat around and waited for confirmation to happen till 1:30 in the morning, and I went to bed. I don't think I surfaced till 10 o'clock the next day, but I think you got up for work like a good person. But
I did.
Congratulations on that. That's an excellent award. It's like Jim said, we have a whole long time to work on that one. There's no hurry to do it. I'll have it done here in the next week myself, but it's a fun one for sure. I think a lot of people are using that as an excuse to get on the air, and I think that's the goal of some of these awards, is to encourage people to play radio.
Definitely. Rory, what's happening with you?
Well, it's been, I had a decent holiday break. It was a nice couple of weeks. I still had to work a few days here and there, but still had plenty of time to play radio. I was able to get a bunch of POTA activations in, of course, at our friendly local park, Island Lake, US 3315, and a couple people nationwide have been curious. I've heard people asking, what's up with this US 3315. I keep saying 4 and 5 and 6.
Yeah.
I think there were 7 or 8 of us that activated it the other day.
7 on Sunday.
Terry is 2 times Kilo at Island Lake at this point.
Nice.
I'm not too far behind. Jim will be there soon, I think, as well.
Working there.
And I just show up when I can. So
it's not exactly local to you, so it's not a short drive to this corner of the county. But you know what?
Particularly local to Terry either. Let's give him some credit.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, but my wife loves to run the trails there, so I got an excuse.
You do have an excuse. All right, that's totally fine. Happy wife.
Island Lake has some excellent trails, and I've spent some time on them myself in the past, and it's a nice park. But so spent the time doing POTA, spent the time doing a lot of time in the shack. I also was playing hard in the 12 days of QRZ, which I enjoy, being able to get 12 contacts on all the bands, 160 through 440. So it takes a little bit of work to get some of those bands. 160, I don't have an antenna for. I have to use what I have and hope the tuner makes it happy. I still managed to get that one done. I struggle on 15 for whatever reason. The tuner will get it done. Yep. And then there's not much activity on 220. I have to hope Jim wants to play radio across town and meet me on 220 for a contact. But everything else, I think I'm almost done with. So that's a good one. Nice. I enjoy getting all the bands. But as everyone might recall, we went to a swap about a month ago, and I managed to pick up a Venture CW paddle. And I'd been looking for one for a while. The CW bug had not quite bitten me yet, but it was on my mind, and I'd been wanting to get back into CW. We're hearing a lot of, or not back into, because I was never in it, but into it in general. We've been hearing a lot of noise about CW and POTA, and just the current generation of hams getting very interested in CW, and that's kind of what happened to me at this point. So one of our club member friends, Eric KDRS, mentioned the Morse Mania app he was working with some time ago. I started there, and we'll get into more of this in depth as we go through this here on the episode. But that's where I started. That was the first thing, and I found that to be very useful. But there were some gaps, especially and there still continue to be gaps on the listening side for me. So I needed something more. And Terry suggested Long Island CW Club, among other things. And I did join up with them, and I'm getting started there. Very, very new to it, but it's a very comprehensive program. And I know Terry's going to go through those tonight at some point, and go through the pros and the cons and what his experiences were. Now, I know everybody will have a little bit different experience when they go through it. Everybody learns differently. That's the key thing. If anything I've read on CW or listened to on learning CW, you have to remember, just because somebody else is learning quicker than you doesn't mean you're not going to get there. For example, I'm sending exceptionally well already. I still can't hear the letters clearly. I'll get there eventually, but that's, I've learned the letters enough to send them fairly well. But to hear them, I'm not there yet. So it just takes time. So welcome in, Terry. I know, and I think I didn't realize you were a COVID ham. And I know James was as well, and we had some others around town. I guess that's one thing I'm thankful for COVID, because we actually picked up a lot of people in the ham radio world during that time that are excellent friends to ham radio. So good evening, Terry. We'll send it over to you. You can tell us your story of when you got into CW, which direction you went, and kind of how it all came together for you.
Okay. So I think the person that inspired me to want to pick up a key and start learning CW is at the first Michigan POTA meetup. I think it was Sleepy Howl that I went to.
Yep.
I got to camp next to a couple that were from New York, and they would sit around the campfire talking to me, and at the same time working a key and having a conversation and making contacts. And it just blew my mind that they were able to have two conversations going and be making POTA contacts. And I was amazed. He also, the husband, also had a plethora of different keys. And he was completely competent with straight keys, bugs, paddles, old military keys. And so it was fascinating to see all the different things you could use to make Morse code and to communicate over the air. So I figured I did some of the things you guys are doing now with, getting apps and starting to kind of play and learn a little bit with what Morse code was. But I thought I did a little research, and I thought I would take some time and get some training from people that were experienced on effective techniques for learning CW. And I started with, there's a group called CW Ops, and they run classes called CW Academy. And in 2023, I went ahead and joined up with a class. The one thing about their classes that's different than the other one I'll talk about is you need to schedule the class in advance. You have to, kind of request to be part of a class. I think that's because they have limited sets of instructors. They try to keep the classes small. They run classes in the winter. They're 2-month segments, sessions. So January, February is one session. Then they do another session in May and June. And so that's the summertime. And then they do another session in the fall, September and October. So I signed up for the fall. I think I figured that's when I'd have a little more time to be invested in it. It's 2 months of classes, so 8 weeks, and you're taking 2 classes a week. And you kind of have homework and practice that you have to do in between the classes, so it takes some time. The classes are usually scheduled the same days each week, so and typically they'll do something like Monday and Thursday to give you some time between the classes to study either the letters you're learning or the concepts you're learning and putting them to practice. So just to give you a kind of a structure, they use Zoom. So you're listening over Zoom, just kind of like this, and you're sending over Zoom. To send over Zoom in both groups I used, you have to set up Zoom a little differently because, Zoom will have some noise cancellation, background noise. That kind of interferes with the keys. They're okay with you using a paddle, and that's kind of what they prefer. So when I started with CW Academy, I was using an iambic paddle.
Okay.
And you need to have either a tone oscillator or keyer or bring a radio. And so you'd be able to hear your dits and das over the radio, and people can hear you send.
That makes sense.
Yep. And they want you to practice 60 minutes a day. That's kind of what they recommend. So
wow. Okay.
Pretty healthy practice.
Sure.
They have 4 levels of classes. Beginner, you have no experience. You're coming in from scratch, and you're learning the basics. Then they go to fundamental. And at that point, they consider that you could operate, you understand the letters, and you can operate and listen and send at about, I think they said 6 words a minute. So pretty slow.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And their goal in the fundamental class is to build up your speed and your confidence and your efficiency and get you up to about 10 words.
Okay.
Then you move to intermediate, and now they're trying to pull you from 10 words a minute up to 20 words a minute. And this is where they want you to maybe start getting involved in contests, trying to make DX contacts, potentially POTA, and potentially even doing some rag chew, which I think that's a huge leap.
I'm a long way from that.
Starts. Sorry about that. So intermediate starts to put it into practical use, but they're expecting that there's going to be some speed disadvantage, and by putting it in that practical use, you're going to start to feel that pressure a little bit to pick that up. Then is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're trying to get on the air in different formats, and the other one I talked about, they try to get you on the air very quickly.
Okay.
This one, you're kind of building up the skills until that third phase, and then they're expecting, all right, now you're ready to
go.
Go for it. Yep.
Yep.
And then advanced. I I never got there with them. That's when you're flying.
Yeah.
20 plus words a minute. You're coming in with 20 plus words a minute, and
Okay.
they're trying to have the skills to potentially be doing 30 words a minute, which is crazy. It's fast.
Yeah.
Do you have an estimate right now, Terry? What for the audience? Like, where do you feel you are words per minute wise as far as effective communication?
So I think I'm kind of like Rory. I send right now pretty decently at 16 words a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
On a particular protocol. So say POTA, where I kind of know the exchange, or if I work a contest and I know that exchange, and you practice that, I can hunt POTA 16 words a minute, no problem at all. Now I mentioned to you guys in Discord that I went out and did my first activation, and I hadn't practiced being on the other side of the exchange. And boy, that's totally different. Where it's not, I'm not sending my call sign, I'm sending their call sign back. I'm not just sending my state, I'm sending their state back. And that's where I could see my failings, right? Of being able to on the fly send a call sign that I just copied. And so that's where I have to work at.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened with the Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, that's a little bit of like the CW Academy, and that was your experience kind of jumping in. That was the first thing that you did. And just to kind of break this thing up a little bit, I will tell you guys, right, when we're talking CW, advantage-wise, obviously there are many advantages, right? It uses less bandwidth, for one, right, than a sideband conversation or an AM conversation on HF. But the big one, and if you're listening today and you're like, why are people doing CW? What, can't they just get on the phone, right? Or why aren't they using FT8, right? If you're listening today and you're asking, why are we talking everyday ham? Why are you talking about CW? The big one is everybody is looking for that 10 or 20 dB advantage that CW gains them over phone, right? That's the big thing, because you can run a less efficient antenna at way less power in a much smaller package, like Terry mentioned earlier today.
You can almost always pick out a CW signal with very little, with them sending very little and you receiving with very little. It's very reliable and very easy to do. I think Terry has his what he's traveling with there to Florida, his whole station and his camera box, what did Jim call it? Camera bag. And I mean, that's all you need.
Well, and for me a little bit too, I think that exactly nails it. I like to hike and backpack as well, and talk about portability. Terry showed the radio there. It's the size of a deck and a half of cards, a little bit larger than maybe two decks of cards.
Maybe two decks. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talk about backpacking with a sideband radio, it's not really happening. Even a G90 or other mobile radios, it still need the big battery pack to pack with it and stuff like that. But you're talking CW, I can pretty much go anywhere with a kit, as Terry has shown, and be very happy. And we look at episode 9 when we had Matt W7MDN and Tim N7KOM, who really kind of sparked my interest in starting to try to learn CW. They were showing me the stuff and what they were able to do, and I was watching the YouTube videos, and man, that looked like a lot of fun too. Like just a different type of experience.
Yeah. And so you folks that are listening can go ahead, Terry.
Yeah. Just to give you a little more information and to tell you how CW works the signals. So today, my dad has hearing aids. We were all sitting outside where I am now. I was set up. I'm working on this, working from this table with this tiny little radio that puts out 5 watts or less, depending on the band. And this is the battery that's powering it. It's made by another ham. It's called the ultralight QRP. It's 16 watt hours battery. Made by W0ALZ, I think it is. And I was on the air for 2 hours making contacts, and I used 25% of this little battery. So I could have run for an entire day.
That's a dream. Yeah.
Right.
And Terry's using the CFT1. That's the 5-bander that you're using. CFT1 is the portable transceiver. Very tiny.
Yes. And to tell you how effective CW is, So my dad has hearing aids. We're sitting around here, we're chatting. I'm telling them we're talking about CW, and if they're hearing the dits and das. And I said, there was a very light signal that came through. And I said, Dad, can you hear that? He goes, oh, yeah, I can hear that. And I know he could probably barely hear my voice, but he could hear those signals, coming through his hearing aid.
I guess when I think about it, right, the CW signal differentiates itself from anything in the background by a significant margin because it's just that single tone that you're listening for at all times, right? And the length of that tone is really all that you need to help you put together the words that you're after. So, yeah, I wanted to say, like, here's a little bit about why you might be interested in this before we keep going, Terry. So I didn't mean to interject. So Terry went down the CW Academy route, and that's a cost-free experience, as I understand it. Is that right? That's no cost to join if you want to. Is that correct, Terry?
Boy, it's been a while, but I think you're right. And the other one, I think, has a little bit of a cost.
That's
what I was going to say.
Browsing their website, they're no cost. Yeah.
Yep. So CW Academy is a free option, more regimented. It sounds like it follows a more traditional, perhaps learning approach, I would say, in that they're really working you through essentially a sort of textbook way of learning CW. And if it's not the way that you learn, you may have some success, you may have no success, or you may have a ton of success. It really just depends on how your head works around it. So let's talk about the other way that you found to be more effective, perhaps.
Yeah, and to follow on with your flexibility, that comment, that actually ended up being the reason why I couldn't complete what I wanted to complete with CW Academy. Unfortunately, the instructor had to change our dates of the days of the week of the classes, and it just didn't work out for me. So I think I went through about 3 weeks, and I was excited about it, and I was getting into it, but then I couldn't participate beyond
make
that
the class.
Yep. So that so I waited about another year. I think in 24, I started researching other classes, and I think I talked to a few people, and they recommended taking a look at Long Island CW Club. And when I researched them, it was really apparent that flexibility was was a core principle.
Nice.
So they run their classes completely different in terms of how you can join and jump in, because they do things in what they call carousel. So their beginners carousel 1 is going nonstop throughout the year, right? And when I joined Long Island CW, they could have been in what they would consider week 3 if you started. But I can just jump in because I'm just learning that first week, or any week in beginner carousel 1, I'm learning the 3 letters that everybody else is.
Okay. Yep.
And the other big advantage is they have, I think it's somewhere up around 170 classes a week.
Wow.
That as part of their, when you guys get into it, you'll get into their Discord servers, and they list all the week's classes. So when you start beginner carousel 1, you can see maybe 5 to 7 times a week classes at different days, different times, morning, afternoon, night, different instructors. And now you just take the class that fits your schedule. And you're not limited to one, right? If I take a class that week and I didn't quite get it, I'm not, I needed reinforcement, I can take another class 2 days later it's the same class taught by a different instructor, and they may teach it a little bit differently and give you different tips. And I found that to be a huge advantage. The different instructors was really great because they all have little different techniques. They listen to you a little differently. They have you focus on some things that maybe the other instructor didn't. They give you ways to practice that are different than the other instructors.
Yeah.
And you can kind of pick the pieces that work for you from all these different bits of advice and, use them in your everyday practice.
I think of it like in, back when you were going to school, right? High school, college, you found a favorite instructor, one that just for whatever reason, the way they showed you to do a thing, it always stuck with you. And those were the instructors that you sought out. If they did a 101 and a 201 class, you'd take them both because you knew that one was going to work for you, right? So I love that flexibility. And I will say it's mind blowing how many sessions Long Island CW has on their calendar. I'm looking at just a week worth of them. And you could get up at 9 o'clock in the morning and do it, or you could wait till 2 in the afternoon. It doesn't matter whenever you're ready to go. It looks like they have an option for you. So really, that's pretty cool.
What's the cost of Long Island CW?
I believe it's $30 a year or $90 for lifetime.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I did $90 because I haven't had to renew, and I got back in there today and I was still active. And so what I did was I went through the first 3 beginner carousels. Beginner carousel 1, you're kind of focusing on the first most popular or used characters, 18 of them. Beginner carousel 2, you're now completing the 26 characters. You're learning some of the pro signs, like back to you, BK. You're learning, those things that you might be going to use in exchanges. And you're learning the numbers, which are really useful for call signs. Sure. And then beginner carousel 1 or 3, that's when they focus on you getting on the air as fast as possible. Start hunting POTA, start doing things.
Nice.
And they teach you all the different protocols and all the different exchanges so that you'll go out and do either POTA or the Straight Key Century Club. They've got their own exchange. And even Long Island CW has a contest that they have their own exchange, and they run the contest quarterly. That it's a contest where you try and make as many contacts as you can with other LICW members, and you get certificates. But the whole goal is to get out there and use it. And what I did is I went through 1, 2, and 3 of the beginner carousels. And what I found was, or what I thought, and I think it was true, is that I was good at sending. I was better at sending, and I need to focus on copying.
Okay.
And I think everybody's going to experience this at some point. You can copy an individual letter. You can copy a small word because you start to have context of a word. Like you send me THA, I probably know that the next letter is going to be a T or an N, right?
It's that instant recognition that you're working towards.
Yeah. But when you get in a call sign that's completely kind of random, it could be a 1x2, or 3x3, numbers in different spots, foreign prefixes, things like that. That's what I was finding is I could get through the first 2 letters, probably the number, and then my mind would scramble and I'd be lost.
Yeah, I'm pretty much that's kind of where I'm at with it, with my copy for sure. I need to, the focus is limited for me in general in life. So to focus on letters coming past me fast, it's something I'm going to have to learn. But as I practice through it and have been working on it, it's improved. So I know I'll get there.
Yeah.
And
so just a couple other things about them that's different. They want you to use a straight key. That's their preference. Okay. And they have a feeling, they've done research that they feel that you creating the dits and das and creating the timing and the spacing and not letting a paddle do that work for you reinforces your learning, your ability to copy. And I don't know if that's true because unfortunately with CW ops, I started with a paddle. I did use the straight key, but I was already pretty competent with the paddle. So I wanted to get back to that than using the straight key. The other thing they have, which they use in their classes, is a really good web application for, they call it the Morse practice page. And their instructors use it when they teach the class. And then they recommend you use it when you practice. And it's very, very good. You can practice letters you're working on. You can practice words. You can practice call signs. You can change all the speed because there's the speed of words per minute, but there's also something called Farnsworth speed, which changes the time, the delays between sending the letters. It gives you a little more time to think, as the letters are coming at you.
Right. The character itself is set at speed, but the distance, the time between the letter is increased or decreased, which makes your overall speed either faster or slower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and it looks like the Morse practice page is actually something that you can access no matter who you are. It looks like it's a free thing that is available online. And so I'll have to take a look at this. I did not know it was here.
Yeah.
So this is just really quickly my experience with the 2 weeks or so that I've been dealing with Long Island CW Club. Couple things stood out at first. They're very interested in making sure you understand their philosophy of teaching, and they have a few YouTube videos out there that are public facing. So if you want to understand what their philosophy is how it's going to work before you even join, that's all out there on YouTube for you to look at. And they go into great detail about some of the things Terry was just talking about, such as using a straight key, such as practice time, different techniques. One thing I do want to shout them out on, as I tend to do and have done in the past for things on this podcast. They have a very large focus on accessibility for amateur radio operators with disabilities. They're pilot programming a program for autistic ham radio operators to learn CW. They also are 100% screen reader capable with their website, including that Morse training app is 100% screen reader capable. And that's a big deal to them because they know there's a large population of ham radio operators that are visually impaired. Yep. One thing I didn't expect that they do, they're also putting together programs for people who are hearing impaired. They have a haptic CW device that you can use to feel the Morse code and learn it that way. So they're being very cognizant of working across the various disabilities that they might come across to be able to make the training accessible to everybody.
I want to shout out somebody here too, since we're in that kind of mode right now. And thank you, Terry, for some insights, not only on CW Academy, which might work for some folks, but Long Island CW Club, which I have heard other folks say out loud that they had way more success with Long Island CW Club. Ed, W8TMB, actually emailed the pod a couple of months ago and said, hey, when you guys are ready to get serious about Morse code, I want to talk to you guys. And so, Ed, if you're listening to the pod still, thanks for that email. We are getting more interested in this whole thing. And he was on the same page. He said Long Island CW Club is the best way to learn CW. And he recommends it highly on his channel. You could go check him out on YouTube as well. You know how to find all that type of thing. So I just wanted to say hello and thanks to Ed for reaching out and indicating his interest in our ability here at the Everyday Ham to learn a little bit more about radio in the way of CW. James, on and off, you had a question there and then you popped away.
Yeah, well, I'm back. Sorry, guys, I'm having a little bit of audio issue today. But what was the question, Jim?
Oh, I was just saying, I think you had a question for Terry.
Oh, Terry answered it, and I'm sorry, guys. I was wondering what equipment to sign up for the CW Academy or the Long Island, what was needed to kind of join, because I know sometimes the barrier. Sometimes the barrier is the hardware, because that usually has a little bit more additional cost. I'm just curious, maybe what you started with in terms of a key, and do you remember what the average cost was?
So you're asking me about that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used some of the CW Morse keys. They're kind of inexpensive. But I think everybody that gets into Morse code ends up with a ton of different keys.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I went to the high end with a Bengali straight key.
I was going to joke and say you bought your Bengali right out of the gate, Terry. Don't lie. Terry didn't start with the Bengali.
But it wasn't that long, to tell you the truth.
Nice.
But Greg W8TMB, my buddy up in Holt Lake, recommended Venture, and I did buy a new Venture and love it. I think it's a great key. I bought a backup off of eBay. So here's one thing: if you don't have a key, it's okay. You can actually join Long Island CW, and there were plenty of people in the classes. And the difference with Long Island CW, a class could be about 20 students because it's Zoom. And, they're just going to teach to the large crowd. But when they ask you, maybe, can you send the letter back or a word back so we can listen? If you don't have a key, they recommend you code talk. So you do, da-da, da-da-da. And as long as you're doing it in the spacing and the timing and, until you get your key or until you get your oscillator or your radio, you can learn by just code talking. I was telling people one way I really practice was I travel a lot. And as I drive down the road and I'm looking at license plates, my wife doesn't know, but in my mind, I'm code talking the license plates, or I see a sign on the side of the road and I code talk the words on the sign. And I thought that really helped.
That's brilliant too, because a license plate is very random as far as what numbers you might see. I know that you see similar ones, but you're not expecting those numbers, and so you have to come up with that new string each time they pop up in front of you, right? And that, I think, is what you really have to break, that mental expectation that you're always going to be able to guess the next letter and actually just hear it. Yeah. And so that's cool.
It's all the CW mindset, and I think all the programs kind of talk about that. You kind of have to put yourself in that forced training kind of mindset to where you're doing just that. And I caught myself, I was driving this afternoon back I went to the grocery shop on my lunch break, and I was they said something on the radio, and then in my head I spelled it out in Morse in CW. So it's something you have to do. I like the idea of license plates. People behind Jim would have to spell the word poodle. That's a good one for, you get a good P and you get a good P in there. It's not bad.
There you go.
That was impressive, by the way. Good on Rory.
I can send, I can't hear. That's
right. He knows a lot more that he hears it even before I think a lot of us have. So
I've been listening. The whole time I've been a ham operator, which 20 something years now. I think I just renewed, actually, but that's a whole different story because I don't know why it was time to renew. Something weird happened somewhere along the way. But there's a lot of repeaters in the Metro Detroit area that identify CW. So I've always tried to be able to hear that. There's other repeaters that identify with their courtesy tone in CW based on which receive site you get into. So I've always wanted to be able to decode that. So I've always had the interest in CW, but to actually to apply it is new.
When I was, again, if I'm a person that's listening to the Everyday Ham podcast and I'm like, I'm not really there yet. I don't really have any interest in CW. I'm trying to tantalize you with reasons why you might. So I went down that path this afternoon. I was like, why do I want to learn CW, right? And I've seen people post this on the amateur radio Reddit. Like, what's the point of CW, right? Convince me that I should learn it, right? And there's a lot of folks that you do have to be in the right mindset. You have to be ready to want and learn it. Yep. But I do think that it's ingrained in so many of the things that we do as hams, right? Like Rory said, repeater IDs. If you're interested in that, you can hear those things instead of them just being obscure dits and das that slide right past your brain, right? The K that happens at the end of our N8SL repeater, right? I didn't know it was a K, and Rory's like, yeah, that's a K. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Got it, right? And so, I was kind of going down that path, and other things came up, right? The beacons that you use will identify themselves with CW, so you know which beacon you're listening to or hearing, those types of things, and the simplicity of creating a transmitter, like that's why they're small, is because a CW transmitter is a way more simple circuit to build, and you can actually kit bang something like that for $9 or $10, right? You can go on and get a little low power CW kit, solder it up yourself, and you can go out in the field and actually make some CW contacts. So it is really cool just how versatile CW can be. And if the world ends, you might need CW anyway, right? Low power, you can hunt for Red October, right? Tap the side of the sub.
And maybe a more practical thing too. We are approaching we're going out of the solar maximum. We're on that downward slope a little bit. Yeah. So if you want to be prepared for more DX contacts, learning CW now is maybe a good time to add it to your tool bag of tricks.
Yeah, and I think like most hams, you get to certain points where you've worked all states, maybe you're doing DXCC, but you haven't worked all states in all the different bands. So as you start to focus there, you're picking out new bands. Well, you haven't worked all states in every mode that you could be working on.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually where I started looking at it. I started POTA with FT8. I was an FT8 guy from the beginning. Then I started doing single sideband and saw how effective that was and how fast it could be.
Super.
And then I said, well, guy, I need to do the last one too. I need to start doing CW.
That's right.
You need all
there's a certain level of completionism for all of us as hams, right? I think we all are always chasing that next thing. I do have to chuckle, right? You see guys that say, "Oh, I'm getting out of the hobby because I've done all the things," and then you go look and they've been on the phone, right? That's all they've done, right? So I don't believe you. It's okay. You can get out of the hobby whenever you want to, and we'll see you when you come back because I'm sure you'll be back. Yep. But there are many things that you can learn in ham radio. CW is just one of them. Mm-hmm. When you're ready, try the Long Island CW Club. And we are not sponsored by the Long Island CW Club, but if they listen to this, we would be happy to have them come on and talk a little bit with us.
Yeah, and I think there is something to be said about CW Academy as well. So one of my learning styles, if we talk about, you said find the professor that, jives to your learning style very effectively. If I look at even my learning style, for example, I sort of like having the structured approach of, here's my class time. I need to get on there. I'm accountable to do that. And that actually jives better with how I've learned traditionally than sort of, well, I need to, log onto an app and I'm going to self-practice 60 minutes a day. Because I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to go right past it.
Okay.
So having that little, it's time to join the meeting pop up on my calendar is actually a pretty beneficial tool. So I think Terry's lesson there, I think really is one of the key takeaways is try something. The class schedule happened to change for him and he went to Long Island, but he has experience with both and maybe one platform worked better for him than the other one. I don't think there's any harm in finding or trying both, and maybe the Morse Mania app is just fine with you all around. Maybe you can learn to send and receive through there. So know your learning style. The HR professional in me here will say you should know your learning style and what works well for you, and there's no shame in that. Just do what works.
If you're banging on your car stereo right now and saying, guys, there's a way better way to learn it, put it down in the comments if you're listening.
Yeah.
Write us an email. We would love to hear from you. What other ways are you guys finding this to be effective as far as learning? Because I do think CW will be one of the biggest challenges for me when it comes to radio. So go ahead, Terry.
I wanted to, so having gone through both, I think I could have been successful with either one. Okay. It's just one didn't work with my schedule. And I do think James is right that with the flexibility of Long Island CW, you need to bring discipline to that approach because it's up to you to keep up with the carousels, keep up with the classes, and you can easily drop out. It might be good for your schedule because you can jump back in whenever you're ready. It's like I took a big break to work on copying and to work on getting better at not getting lost in my CW copying. And I've improved with practice and with some tools. And now I think I am ready to start getting back into the intermediate classes that will reinforce all of that.
From 16 to 20 or 25.
Yeah. But so I've also learned things that didn't work for me. And I'll give you a few of those. And I did mention it in some of Discord. Try to avoid using a cheat sheet. That's so first thing everybody gets. I've heard that. Is everybody puts that in front of them, the dits and das, the letters, the A through Z, and the numbers. And so try to avoid. Yeah, there you go. I've got many of those. To try and avoid using that. Also, try to avoid getting attached to a decoder, and that's hard. That's going to be hard to do because every radio can do it fairly well. There's phone apps that can do it kind of well, and you'll end up using that as a crutch, and it'll prevent you from really learning and copying it yourself. The thing that I still struggle with is counting dits and das in my head instead of hearing a letter as a whole sound, right? So as a K, da da da, or something a little more complex like F, dit da da dit. and I start counting those in my head and replaying them. Well, now I'm screwed.
Yep,
right.
2 letters behind now, right?
That's exactly what happened. I'll start thinking about what did I hear and what was it when I'm trying to copy, and that is what trips me up in my copy.
Yeah,
it goes back to what they all tell you. You really have to get to that instant recognition. When you hear a character, what is that? It's not da da da. That's K. And that's where you have to get immediately.
Mm-hmm. Right. I've heard to think of it as like musical notes, learning music. Each word is its own note, so to speak. And that if you can learn the music and the sound that goes with it, you stop counting and you're just kind of with the flow of it. Which I'm sure is someone that is not musically inclined, by the way, where my sister was someone that's very musically inclined. I struggle with that concept personally, but I've heard just kind of let it go, let it breathe, and just wait for the whole thing to come and just flow.
Yeah.
But
the other thing is, I think a lot of us in the hobby are kind of perfectionists. I'm looking at 3, I think.
Some worse than others.
And the challenge is to not stop and count, but let it go and keep listening and keep copying the words that follow. If you miss one, don't worry about it.
Right.
Let it, just keep moving.
Yeah, that's the one thing Long Island pushes is you have to focus on your forward momentum. You have to just keep going. And that is true. I was working with their practice website last night even, and I allowed myself to get caught up on what the hell what a letter was, and I got pissed, and I suddenly missed 5 groups of letters, and I'm like, that's exactly what you don't do.
Yep.
So, but you have to keep that forward momentum for sure.
There's a bit of confidence building there, right? Like I think that as you kind of build your confidence, and you know that if you miss a letter or two, it's not the end of the world. You keep on going, right? There's that level. As you get that more comfortable with the sound, right? I think that there's that confidence that builds as well. I naturally, as with all things that you learn, and I think that I was going to ask Terry, do you speak multiple languages by chance or no?
I took Spanish in college, so yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were like fluent in multiple languages, because what I would like to ask is, and if you're out there and you know multiple languages but also know CW, do you liken it to knowing another language, or is it something totally different to you in your head? And that's what I would love to know. Somebody that is really fluent with CW but is also a multilingual individual. Do they think of CW as a language, or do they think of it more like James likened it to a music?
I did read one thing to what James was talking about was about musically inclined people do tend to learn CW more rapidly. Okay. That is one thing I have read. I've not read anything on the multilingual type thing, but I wouldn't be surprised because usually when people learn 1 or 2 languages fluently other than their native language, they tend to have a little more open mind to it, and somehow things just flow a little easier. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear that either.
Well, those people are smart people, right? Multilingual
they
people.
Generally are.
I think the simple lesson though is anyone can do it. Just find what works for you and just keep practicing. So
my last tip.
Yeah.
So after I did beginner carousels, I started focusing on copying and just listening and writing things down. Okay. And then so I use a little tool. It's a little Raspberry Pi tool called Morse Code Tutor, and it can do all these things. It can send you letters. You can copy them. You can send you words. It can send you call signs. It can do all those things. And then you can also send those back, and you have to send them back with timing. And if you miss the timing, it'll say, oh, you got that one wrong. Okay. What I found originally when I took my break and I started focusing on my copying was I was improving, but I don't think I started making advancements until I got to the point where not only did I copy, I kind of head copy, but then I sent back immediately.
Okay.
Because I think the sending back immediately reinforces the letters, so letters that I had problems with copying consistently, as I sent them back, I definitely feel like I've gotten better that way.
So I'll compare to my experience with the Morse Mania app. I started with just copying, and I went through all the levels there, and then I went back and I realized how to get to the sending. So I started doing a challenge with the copy and then do the same challenge sending. And when I did those back to back, similar to what you're talking about, is when I started to get the letters more ingrained in the characters in my brain. So very similar experience there when I started running both the receive and then the send kind of side by side.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I think naturally we, through the classes, you kind of focus on one and leave the other later. And then eventually you start to weave them in. But I think the sooner you get into using them both, the sooner you'll move forward faster.
Yep, that was my experience. Yeah, as soon as you said that, it jogged my mind that's kind of what I was doing my first couple weeks playing with Morse Mania for sure.
Very cool. Well, this is kind of a deep cut as far as ham radio things are concerned, and the Everyday Ham podcast goes. So thank you, Terry, for jumping in and being our expert this evening. It is awesome to hear from somebody that just kind of got it freshly learned and is starting to feel confident with it, starting to use it on the air. So thank you for taking some time out of your evening to come and see us on the show. We'll certainly have you back in the future. You could tell us how far you've gone with it. But I want to send it over to Rory to shout out a few of our folks that have listened.
I'm glad if they made it this far. That's why we usually do this at the beginning, because people usually fall off. So
people
first,
have lives.
This is a test.
Yeah. The Hillbilly Hams Amateur Radio Club, specifically Sean AA4AT and Shannon KI4LY. I managed to work them out at Island Lake. They were doing POTA. I was doing POTA, and they mentioned that they're listeners of the show. So thanks for listening, and thanks for working me on POTA. And they actually record their POTA activations and load them up onto YouTube. Nice. So I was able to hear myself working them when I found it. So that was cool. And also a couple shout outs to a couple of our active Discord fellows. We have Rodney, of course, our 85TX, our good morning cup of coffee, Rodney. I enjoy seeing those.
You, Rodney.
Those every morning, and he's been hitting the grind hard. I think he had some time off of work, and he's back to work doing.
He's winding it down though. He's gonna be retired soon, taking his time. Yep.
And Caleb KF0 UPB, a couple people that have been good in the conversations on Discord. It's been fun. It's a small group, but it's a fun group, and I think we do have some good conversations and pass some different ideas and open-minded, ideas too. There's been a couple times where someone has differed with someone else's opinion, and it was a good conversation, and we've all learned from it in an excellent way. Very respectfully. There was no concern. So I've enjoyed seeing these people join from all over into the Discord. Like I said, it's not the most active Discord group in the world, but it's a fun one, and we're glad to have everybody there that joins.
Yep. It could be more active if you join us. How about that? There's your plug
and
for
I have
this afternoon.
One call out as well to
go ahead, James.
Kilo Oscar 4 Foxtrot X-Ray. Ethan the Fox, who also
Ethan the Fox.
As
I worked
hunter.
him on many times.
Yep, and also gave a shout out as well. So thank you there if you are a listener, and also thank you for being an active POTA activator as well. So we appreciate that.
I did see Ethan on Facebook. Ethan was taking a first time POTA guy out. I don't know the other guy's call sign, but they were talking about that on Facebook about being concerned, but he said he was going out with Ethan, and I left a comment saying, if you're going out with him to the park, you're going to be in good hands, because he's a good POTA operator for sure.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this episode, the 13th, and brand new year,
lucky
brand
number
new
13.
Everyday Ham. Yep. That's right. We appreciate all you folks listening. We will be back with more fun stuff as the year progresses. We have lots of plans, and we will be at Hamcation. Looking forward to that. That is just next month, so we'll be down there at Hamcation right after we do our next episode.
It'll be our turn to be in Florida, like Terry is now. Thanks for being here, Terry. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.
Hey, it was a lot of fun. POTA on, you guys.
POTA on.
73s, guys. Good luck in the contest, as Rory likes to say.
7-3 and good luck in the contest.
You can't steal Rory's exit there either, Jim.
Oh.
All right.
Fine business. All right.
That
73s.
All right. 7-3.
That's it for today's Everyday Ham. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep enjoying the hobby.